Hello everyone. Today we will solve Cambridge book number 10 writing task 1. Our question is the first chart below shows how energy is used in an average Australian household. The second chart shows the greenhouse gas emissions which result from this energy use. The first chart displays energy consumption in the average household in Australia, while the second chart illustrates the greenhouse gas emissions that come from this energy consumption. Overall, while heating and water heating account for a significant proportion of energy use, most greenhouse gas emissions result from watering, heating, and other appliances. Heating and water heating are the two largest uses of energy, at 42 and 30% of the total respectively. Other appliances consume another 15%, which is roughly twice as high as the percentage of energy used for refrigeration. The proportion of energy consumed for lighting and cooling are both very small, at 4 and 2% respectively. Water heating is also a major source of greenhouse gas emissions, making up almost a third of total emissions. The second largest amount of emissions comes from other appliances, at 28% of the total. Heating, surprisingly, is only responsible for 15% of total emissions, and this figure is roughly the same as that for refrigeration. The remaining 11% results from lighting and cooling. Let's move to our sample answer number 2. The pie charts compare the percentages of energy consumed for various purposes and how much greenhouse gas is emitted by an average Australian family. Overall, heating accounts for the highest energy consumption, yet the largest proportion of carbon dioxide emitted belongs to water heating. 42% of energy consumed in an Australian family is used for heating, which is the highest figure on the chart, followed by that of water heating at approximately 30%. In contrast, the figure for other appliances makes up nearly 15%, and the rest, including refrigeration, cooling, and lighting, occupy a trivial proportion under 7% each. In terms of greenhouse gas released, water heating and other appliances are the major causes, with about 32% and 28% respectively. In comparison, the data of heating and refrigeration are lower, standing at about 15% each. Both cooling and lighting are responsible for the production of 1/10 of total gas emission. Let's move to part 2. Our question is, many museums charge for admission while others are free. Do you think the advantages of charging people for admission to museums outweigh the disadvantages? Many museums require an admission fee, while others do not. I believe the advantage of this fee far outweighs its disadvantages, because without it, many museums wouldn't be able to protect their collections well. On the one hand, entrance fee may discourage people from visiting. For example, in China, all public museums are free to Chinese citizens. So low-income families who cannot afford places such as amusement parks and movie theaters often take their children to museums to spend their weekends. They may stop visiting them if they have to pay to enter. However, according to my observation, most of them go there not to appreciate the exhibits but to enjoy the free air conditioning. They create noise and overcrowd museums. Therefore, I think a reduction in visitor numbers would not be a bad thing. On the other hand, admission charges allow museums to better protect their collections due to climate changes. Natural disasters are happening more and more frequently. By charging for admission, museums can afford to use high-tech methods to minimize the impact of these disasters. For instance, with revenue from entrance charge, New York City's Whitney Museum of American Art was able to build an up-to-date flood wall which protects its works from potential flooding of the river Nile. I think it is great advantage for museums because some of their works are masterpieces from the past. Keeping them in good condition is important for our cultural heritage. In conclusion, although a paid admission model may deter visitors, I believe this advantage is greatly outweighed by the advantage that the money raised helps to fund the upkeep of museums' collections. Our second simple answer is museum is a historical and educational place visited by people of all ages, some of which are opened to the public free of charge while some ask visitors to pay entry fee. I agree that charging museum visitors have more merits than demerits. On the one hand, the requirement to buy tickets for museum visits leads to some disadvantages. Firstly, this policy may discourage students and low-income families from visiting those historical places since they have more choices without admission, such as watching documentary films to learn about history. This will limit the access to the exhibitions of artifacts and historical works, and consequently reduce the interest in their country's history. Secondly, museums are mostly run by state funds for educational purposes, so charging fees seems to make it commercial and therefore lose the original purpose of its construction. On the other hand, I think that there are more advantages when entry fee is charged. The initial reason is to boost service quality in museums because we have funds to upgrade facilities, redecorate, or employ security guards. Also, museums will welcome only visitors who want to learn more about history because those wanting to find a recreational yes the burden for government budget. If museum tickets are not applied, there should be also no charge for a range of other public facilities such as temples, zoos, and stadiums, which seems to be impractical. In conclusion, despite some negative effects of applying entrance tickets to museum, I believe that they are overshadowed by more positive impacts. So here is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something for your future IELTS exam.